Last question for you. I saw on your site, and I watched it, so I know what your reasoning is. And I'm hoping that you can dilute this down, especially now that we had the fractional reserve discussion, and we kind of touched a little bit on this. I was hoping you could lay out to my listeners what your case is for $50,000 gold. Or actually, you get to $50,000 in one example, and you get to $100,000 in one example. You think gold could go to $50,000 an ounce or $100,000 an ounce. Why don't you see if you could touch on that and just explain kind of what your thinking is there and how you come up with that. And that we'll leave on that.
Sure. It's pretty easy, actually. And I'm just, I want to give a hat tip here. This isn't my idea. This is Jim Rickard's. So I'm just outlining in that video what Jim Rickard's ideas are. So I don't want to take credit for this. I'm just explaining them. So if we go on to a gold standard, if you look at the M2 money supply, Chris, and you say, okay, if we went onto a gold standard right now, there is no way you could keep gold at, say, wherever it is, 1,700 an ounce. That would be massively deflationary. That would take us from 20 trillion down to 1,000. Not literally, but that example that we used at the beginning of the podcast, that it would have that type of effect. It would just be, it'd be Armageddon. So you have to say, now that doesn't mean that we can't back the currency with gold. It just means that gold has to be a different price. Gold has to be 10,000 an ounce, let's say. And because you have to take the money supply, then you have to look at how much gold we have available, let's just say in Fort Knox or wherever. Then you have to say, okay, at a 40% backing, based on today's money supply, what does the price of gold need to be? Okay, let's say $10,000. Okay, well, if you run the math, then you say, okay, well, let's say we went up to 100% gold standard. So then that's what takes it from, call it 10 or 20,000 all the way up to 50,000. That's how Rickards does it. Which makes sense. It's all just math. It's not like a theory. It's just simple math between the supply of gold and the supply of current money supply. And then I took it a step further and said, okay, well, we understand that this is the M2 within the United States, but if we consider what Jeff Snyder says, then that's that there's a lot more dollars outside of the United States.
Euro dollars, right.
In the euro dollar system, than there is inside the United States. And the United States dollar really isn't the reserve currency. And this is Snyder arguing, not me. Although he knows a hell of a lot more about it than I do. But he would say that it's the euro dollar system. That's really the global reserve currency. So if we had to peg gold to not only the domestic dollars, but also the dollars that exist virtually and electronically, let's call it, outside of the United States, that's how you take it from 50 to 100.